Good evening, and welcome to the Southern Center for Human Rights' 23rd Annual Frederick Douglass Awards Dinner. We are honored to have you with us tonight as we recognize Scott Budnick and the Honorable Rennie Cushing for their decades of work fighting for equality, dignity, and justice for people impacted by the criminal legal system. Please give them a hand. You're going to hear much more about their work later this evening. It's a great pleasure to be with you tonight, to honor Scott and Rennie, to celebrate the Southern Center, and to share a moment of community and partnership in this, our collective struggle to live in a better, more just society. I want to extend particular thanks to our sponsors. Our presenter sponsors are the Zittrain Foundation, Kilpatrick Townsend and Stockton, and Morrison and Forster. Our champion sponsors are Barbara and David Lippman, Susan and Jeffrey Sussman, Jake Sussman and Jessica Flaxman, King and Spalding, and Munger, Tolles, and Olson. Our benefactor sponsors, David DeBruin, Mary Schlegel, Covington and Burling, Jenner and Block, Miller and Chevalier, Shepard, Mullen, Richter and Hampton, Wilmer, Cutler, Pickering, Hale, and Dorr. And our reception sponsors are Maureen Del Duca and Mayor Brown. You can find a complete listing of our sponsors in your program. We also have some special guests with us this evening. We have many former recipients of the Frederick Douglass Awards from this dinner. David DeBruin, Dick Dieter, Jason Flom, David Lippman, Cliff Sloan, Virginia Sloan, Don Varilli, Seth Waxman, E. Barrett Prettyman, and Stuart Stiller Postgraduate Fellowship Program, the Public Defender Service for the District of Columbia, and Arnold and Porter. I would particularly like to thank Arnold and Porter and Mary Kennedy for hosting our board meeting this afternoon. We have many other distinguished guests here with us this evening. From the Federal Courts of the District of Columbia, the Honorable Paul Friedman and Carolyn Lerner. From the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, the Honorable Corinne Beckwith. And from the District of Columbia Superior Court, Chief Judge the Honorable Robert Morin and the Honorable Todd Edelman, Gerald Fisher, and Fred Weisberg. We're joined by Professor Edgar Kahn, and by death penalty exoneree Kirk Bloodsworth. And here tonight, perhaps sitting in his seat, is our very own Steve Bright, for many years the executive director and the reason many of us are here tonight. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge two other groups of very important people. First, could my fellow Southern Center board members please stand to be recognized for your countless contributions to the organization? Most importantly, I want to recognize the staff of the Southern Center. During my years on the board, I have been continually amazed by the incredible work of these people. They challenge some of the most egregious human rights violations anywhere. They take on the most difficult cases in the most challenging jurisdictions. They mobilize networks of community groups to achieve policy changes that once seemed impossible. And they insist on treating each client with dignity and respect. In this time of widespread injustice and inequality, the work of the Southern Center exemplifies the ideal of selfless commitment to a better world that we all aspire to live up to. So could Executive Director Sarah Tatanchi and all of the Southern Center staff members please stand. Our next speaker needs no introduction to this audience. For the past 7 years, Maureen Del Duca has welcomed you to this dinner, standing right here, as the chair of the Southern Center. By day, Maureen is Vice President and Deputy General Counsel for Litigation and investigations at Northrop Grumman. Really, however, Maureen is actually a superhero. The Maureen I have come to know is a passionate crusader for equal justice and human rights. On behalf of the board, the staff, and all the people in this room, I want to thank you for your vision and your leadership throughout a period of tremendous growth in our organization and in our work. I want to thank you especially for constantly reminding us of our core values, that every person, no matter where they are from, what they look like, or what they have done, should be treated first as a human being. So from the Southern Center, and for all of us, please join me in welcoming my role model and my friend, Maureen Del Duca. And also, Maureen, from the Southern Center, please accept, we have a gift for you as a symbol of our appreciation. I think you have to open it.
I have to open it?
I think so. She has to open it, right?
Okay. I can't open it. Oh my goodness. Oh!
You've been wanting one of these.
It's a gavel. And something to pound it on. Thank you, James. Thank you. Wow, okay. I had to give up my gavel this afternoon. Well, thank you, James, and thank you, everyone. Imagine with me for a moment, if you will, my trepidation about 7 years ago when Sarah Tatanchi and Steve Bright put to me the absolutely patently preposterous suggestion that I should follow in the footsteps of Charles Ogletree. I don't need to tell this room that those shoes just too big to even try to fill. And I didn't try to fill them. I would never presume to measure myself against a person of such tremendous stature and accomplishment. But I did take the job. And that's consistent with my message to all of you tonight, which is that we all have to walk our own path, and each of us can contribute to the Southern Center and its mission in our own way, with our own strengths and our own skill sets. As board members, it's been our responsibility to the center, and it will continue to be so, to provide a healthy governance and financial foundation for our incredible staff to do the amazing work they do. They're passionate, they're driven, they're committed, and they're supremely talented, and they need that foundation to enable them. We have to look into the future and around corners to make sure that we forge a path that provides for the sustainable growth of the organization. The mission, the work, and the impact. Most importantly, the impact. And each turn of leadership provides an opportunity not only for leaders to continue and sustain and promote the existing goals of the organization, but to come with a fresh perspective and a critical eye, and to put that to work for the organization. Sustainability depends upon successful succession. And to that end, possibly the most important part of a job like this is to work your way out of it. And I think I've done a good job of that, because we have an astoundingly strong board of directors, and James Kwak is going to be an incredible and inspiring leader. So I was very proud and happy to pass the actual gavel to James this afternoon. It is just a joy and a privilege to have had this opportunity to take this responsibility and to be part of this family and this community, and you all are and always will be very much in my heart. So thank you for that opportunity. So even as we benefit from the new blood and the fresh perspectives, we want to make sure to honor our outgoing and former board members. Thanks, Sarah. Our former and outgoing board members, all of whom have made tremendous commitments to the organization, and many of whom are with us tonight. In particular, one of those people, one of our longest-serving board members, is passing the torch to our colleagues today, and that is Greg Camp. Greg Camp first met Steve Bright in 1993, I think, when Steve was first teaching his first course at Yale Law School. And Greg took that course. And within a couple of years, they became fast friends, and Greg came on the board. And he's been on ever since. And Greg has been probably most responsible for the tremendous financial health that our organization has. And he has been a provider of advice on everything from compensation to pensions to financial planning. And you name it, he's been there for us. And Greg, we just want to acknowledge your accomplishments and your commitment, and thank you very much for your service to the board.